We are ready. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Torn Book Club on this December 6th, 2015. And I have a little person up in the window up here. Eeva is with us this week. Hey!
Hello!
Good to
Hello,
see everybody. Just checking the chat, we've got Aravandi, Light of the King, and Temple in here with us. Light of the King is testing, we see you. And, we took off last week because I was out traveling back home for the Thanksgiving holiday. And so this week, we're having our discussion on our book of the month, which is Ronia, the Robber's Daughter, which was suggested by Eeva, so she gets to come on to talk about it with us.
Yeah.
And we're also going to have a new Book of the Month announcement at the end of the episode. And since it's December, we're going to be doing Adaptation Month, which is sort of become the tradition thanks to the Hobbit movies coming out in December. So, still going to stick with adaptations, but this time we're going to do an adaptation that is rather Christmas-themed. So, haven't done a Christmas book since the Father Christmas Letters when we first started the show. So why don't we just get right into it with Ronia. This was a really fun book. Like, I really enjoyed it. I was actually going through a second read through over the weekend. Got probably about halfway through the second time. But
It's a fun book because even though it's a children's book, it kind of like it's a good story anyway.
It's a fun story. It deals with some fairly mature themes. I thought for a children's book, like there's the character Noddle Pete, who, spoiler alert, dies at the end, but dies like of old age, and it's this very like touching and very sad scene with like Ronia and her father Matt like just not wanting him to go, and he's like, "Oh no, I've done my time. It's okay."
Yeah. And the other thing that I really like about this children's book is that even though like the main character is a girl, it's very suitable to say for both like girls and boys. It's not like a girl's book, even though the main character is a girl.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about the beginning of the story when Ronia is born, how excited her father was.
Yeah.
That she got like a child. It wasn't the book didn't make a point of her being a girl, and everyone was just very excited to have the child and have her be like the leader of the.
Yeah, that's what I liked was like he basically said she's gonna grow up to be our chieftain. Like the fact that she was a girl like never figured into it.
Because I didn't because I read the book so long ago, I didn't remember this scene like how it went. So I was just thinking that will they do like the normal thing where they like the other robbers, like the men are like, oh my god, we got this girl, like where's the boy and stuff like that. And there was nothing of that in the story, which I thought was really great.
Yeah. And Light of the King is bringing up a good point. I loved how Burke and her were born on the same day.
Yeah, and I remembered the thunderstorm, and it's like separating the castle into two parts.
Yeah. Now, for some reason, on my first read-through, I totally missed the fact that they were born on the same day, but got it the second time.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just zoning out when that was mentioned, but... Okay, now we're back.
Okay.
Sorry about that, everybody. The broadcasting software is being very, very uncooperative today, so...
It can't handle the transatlantic signal?
I guess not. It always gets so weird. But we're back now, so hopefully we'll stay back for a while, not get kicked off too quickly. So what were we talking about? Ronia and Burke were born on the same day, which I had missed the first time around, but definitely got the second time. And I thought that was a really cool touch. And I loved the relationship between Ronia and Burke. Because it really is sort of that's kind of the central storyline here. And it's kind of a love story, but it's like that very young, very innocent type of love story where they're just really good friends. And and they, after they've saved each other's lives a couple of times, they're like, okay, we are now brother and sister.
Yeah, it kind of made me think of Neil Gaiman's Graveyard Book for some reason.
Yeah.
Like because in the Graveyard Book, what was his name? Bod had a friend as well, and they were kind of like exploring the graveyard and meeting all these mythical creatures, like in this book. And I really liked the description of the forest and how it had like all these different mythical creatures. I really liked that.
Yeah, I loved all the different creatures. I loved and I loved their relationship, like how like they would just they love to go out exploring, but they always go just a little too far, and so the other one has to bail them out.
Yeah.
And I love their first meeting because Ronia is part of Matt's clan and Burke is part of the Borka clan, which are two rival robber clans. And so when they first meet, they're like, okay, I guess we're supposed to hate each other. And but I sort of feel like Ronia took that a bit more seriously than Burke did.
Yeah, maybe a bit at the beginning.
Yeah, and I was listening to the audiobook, and maybe it was the way the narrator did it, but Burke felt like a much more playful, more confident character than Ronia. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of like the feeling I got as well.
Yeah. So, but like I loved, they had to keep their relationship secret, but then it eventually comes out, and they admit, well, we're brother and sister now, and it's Ronia's mother who says, "Oh, I know what that means."
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of like a really, like after Ronia's father, like basically kidnaps Burke.
Yeah.
And the scene at I forget the name of the skeleton, or what was it? Like skull. I can't remember what they called the grove, like the.
Oh God, I can't remember either.
Yeah, but you know the place. Mm-hmm. The separation between the two castles.
Yeah. It's. I think it's like God, it's like the hell chasm or something weird like that.
I think something like that. But like that scene when Ronia jumps to the other side, when Matt like threatens Burke's father with having his child. So, and then Matt saying that he has no child after that, basically. So that was kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was and I saw a lot of that coming, but at the same time, like it was still quite heartbreaking, and but then I loved, like, rather than the two clans going to war, which is what they were sort of building up to, they finally just brought it down to Matt and Borka just having it out themselves. And having a one-on-one fight. Yeah.
After that, when Ronia and Burke, they just, hopefully it doesn't crash anymore.
I hope so. And we're back. Hopefully this is the last time we crash.
Yeah. So we left off at the point where they moved into the cave, into the bear cave.
Oh, okay.
Together.
Yeah.
And
begin shortly.
What the what? Oh. There we go. Okay. No more ads from Ustream coming up here. All right. So they were in a bear cave. And
yeah, the one thing that I found, if I understood correctly, like from the story, that Berg's parents didn't really come and like it felt to me that they didn't care that he ran away.
The only people that way,
yeah, the only people who like checked on them were from Ronia's family.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of felt a bit bad for Berg because of that, and I thought there would be some kind of like some kind of scene at the end of the book, just because I thought that part of why Berg was he didn't like when Ronia's like relatives came to visit the cave. I thought that one reason was that he thought that his family didn't care about him. So that was just something
that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right. Like, and one of the things I did notice was when they were in the bear cave, it was like suddenly the very playful, jovial attitude that Burke had up to this point starts to disappear, and he becomes a lot more impatient, a lot angrier, and the two of them also like sort of they start butting heads a lot more. Like they're not really cooperating as much as they had.
Yeah, I think one of the continuing themes of the book were that you can have like really big arguments with people, family members, and friends,
mm-hmm.
but you can still make up, and like every situation has a solution.
Okay, we're back again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is annoying. Like I told the one ring, he's like, this discussion is going so well, let's all have a cookie. I noticed everybody was talking about Thanksgiving and food while I was futzing around with the technical stuff. So now hopefully maybe this will be a little bit more stable. We'll see.
Yeah.
So where were we?
We were talking about them living in the cave together, and
yeah. Now, one of the things that I thought was interesting about when they were living in the cave together was that they started also to develop the same kind of dynamic that Matt's parents have and that Burke's parents have, where the father, the male, is very very hot-headed, very hot-tempered, mm-hmm. and the wife is she's more even-headed, but she's also very firm.
Yeah.
And so like I saw like that kind of dynamic developing between the two of them, which I thought was pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very good story. I kind of like when it ended, I kind of thought that it would be really interesting to have like a second book when they are about like 20 years old or something.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question was, were there ever any sequels to this?
I haven't heard of any. I don't know. I'll have to check. Because it would be very interesting.
Yeah, because I know the writer, Astrid Lindgren, her big claim to fame is Pippi Longstocking, which I know she mm-hmm. wrote a ton of books for.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I don't think there is a sequel to this one.
Interesting. Because that was another thing that I was noticing, were like some sort of parallels between this and Pippi Longstocking, and how Pippi Longstocking is also about a girl who lives this wild life of adventure, and
yeah, I think she lived alone in the house. She was the strongest girl who ever lived, and like she had her. I haven't read them in so long. I read them when I was like 10 years old. But what I remember is that she had she had like two ordinary friends, a girl and a boy.
Yeah.
And she lived by herself. I think her father was like a sailor or something, and he came back.
And there was sort of a thought of like maybe she was making this whole thing up. Mm-hmm. But I think ultimately it turns out like actually everything she said was true.
Yeah.
I think that's how it ultimately played out. I really don't remember too much.
Yeah, I can't remember like the stories in the books. Any particular things I can't remember.
Yeah. So yeah, that was Ronia. I had to remove a couple images from the broadcaster to hopefully keep it more stable. But one of the things that I found while I was doing some research on Ronia was that Studio Ghibli, the studio that was founded by Hayao Miyazaki, actually did an animated TV series based on this, maybe like a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that. And I found all these really cool images from it, which unfortunately I had to get rid of in order to make the broadcast more stable. So so we won't be able to see that. But you can find them on Google. It's really cool. Like it definitely looks like a Miyazaki style show.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, I really enjoyed Ronia. I thought it was a fun story. It was lighthearted, but not so much that like you're just like, oh, this is too sweet and it's too cutesy.
Yeah, it was kind of like an intelligent children's book.
Yeah,
I think
that's a really good description of it. It's an intelligent children's book because, like I said, it deals with a lot of more mature themes that you probably wouldn't find in most kids' books today.
Yeah,
but does it in such a matter-of-fact way that you don't even really think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, another thing that we were discussing offline, Eva and I, was the Kalevala. Totally unrelated to this, but sort of related because of Finnish stuff. And
yeah, and because of the Tolkien book.
Right, the Tolkien book, the story of Kullervo.
Yeah. So it was like we have read the story from Kalevala, the original Kullervo, and it will be very much fun to compare that with the Tolkien version.
Yeah,
I haven't read that yet, but it's very interesting to see like what he did with the story.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to see that. I was looking for it at some of the local bookstores. Nobody had it. Amazon, their publication date has been pushed to April. So, I mean, I can't even get it on Kindle right now.
Oh, that's really strange.
Yeah.
Because, maybe it's only up in Europe.
So, unfortunately, I don't have that in front of me to compare it to, but we did go over the story of Kullervo from the Kalevala, which for me was like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Like, for me, reading it was like, it was very obvious that this inspired Tolkien's story of Turin Turambar.
Yeah. It's a combination of, like, epic poetry.
Mm-hmm.
That was gathered in the 1800s by a guy called Elias Lönnrot.
Okay.
He basically just traveled around Finland and tried to gather all the lost tales that weren't written down, only told by like storytellers and singers, and just kind of like folklore. And he traveled around, and he was able to gather like the main story into his book.
Okay.
And I think that was quite an achievement, because if he hadn't done that, everything like here would have been lost, I think, by now.
Interesting. I didn't realize that. Like, I sort of got the sense that it was it was created from an oral history sort of thing, but I didn't know the details of it, and that's really cool. And so the story of Kullervo is just one part of this much larger epic poem. And so, but we kind of focused on just the Kullervo stuff because of Tolkien, and there were so many parallels between this and the story of Turin Turambar, like the fact that he marries his sister, and when the truth comes out, she throws herself into a body of water and kills herself. And he's so devastated by this, and like the death scene of Turin and Kullervo is like almost exactly the same. Like he has a conversation with his sword, and his sword says, "That's okay. I will take your blood." And so he kills himself in the exact same way. He puts the sword into the ground and throws himself on it.
Yeah, so tragic.
It really is. It's absolutely, utterly, devastatingly tragic. But sort of the build up to this, I thought was different from Turin, because in Turin's story, he's off on his own. He's living his own life, but the family that he has come from, or the people that he's come from, King Thingol and everybody, excuse me, they're looking for him. They want him to come back. Whereas in Kullervo, when he leaves his adopted family, they want nothing to do with him. They're just happy with abandoning him completely, and so he really is on his own. Whereas,
I think there's a few different versions of the story.
Mm-hmm.
There's also because when Kullervo became like an orphan, he thought that he didn't have he thought that his parents were dead,
mm-hmm.
and he was raised by like the enemy clan.
Yeah, he was raised by his father's brother, I think.
I'm not sure if it was his brother, but they had like
But there was there was a big rivalry between them at the very least.
Yeah, because Kullervo's father was called Kalevala, and he was in war with a guy called Untamo. Right. And basically, like Untamo, they like slayed everyone in Kullervo's tribe,
mm-hmm.
and the only one who survived was like this woman, and they took her, and she gave birth to Kullervo. I think that's how it went.
Something like that, yeah. And and
there
so
might be a few different versions. But
there could be, because I have a version. Okay. So I guess we're just gonna have to deal with this, because now I'm getting errors saying that my display driver is not working properly, which requires me to take apart my computer, and I'm not about to do that right now.
Well, let's hope it stays alive for maybe like 20 minutes.
We'll just keep talking, and we'll keep restarting it as it progresses, and then I'll take care of whatever's going on after we're done.
Yeah. I'm
sorry about this, everybody. This will make for an interesting YouTube archive.
Yeah.
So I think somebody was asking, I think it was Eravandi, was is there a talking dragon in the story of Kullervo? There is not.
Unfortunately not.
No, it's the big battle that Kullervo has is with the enemy. What was his name? Untamo?
Untamo, yeah.
He basically goes back and slaughters Untamo and all of his people, and then when that's done, then he kills himself.
Yeah.
But so Kullervo is raised by Untamo, and Untamo is basically saying, like, he's just raising him, like, he absolutely hates him and he wants to kill him, but for some reason he can't, or I think like his wife won't let him, and so I can't remember exactly why he can't kill him.
Yeah, I think they the sense that like Kullervo wasn't a very like heroic character. He was
Right.
kind of like a weak character.
Yeah.
They tried to like put him to work at the field, and he always kind of failed at everything.
Like every
he did.
job he gives him, he just completely botches it up.
Yeah. So
And so yeah, like Kullervo is much more of a character who is just sort of like cast off into the wind, as opposed to Torin, who he's cast off, but it's more his own pride that does that than everybody abandoning him.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting was like at the very end of this, like it sort of almost gives you a moral of the story at the very end. With like after Kullervo has killed himself, it then says something like, and then all the parents in the world began to tell themselves, now make sure not to raise your children stupid. Like that was supposed to be the moral of this story.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, that's so weird.
It's kind of like it makes me think of the children's stories by Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah.
The Danish writer. Like I think it was just like the 1800s. Every story had to have like a moral, I think, and sometimes it like especially in children's stories, it was like said very clearly at the end of the story. Like I think. Have you read the original story of The Little Mermaid?
Yes, I have.
I think I can't remember exactly what it was, but at the end, like when she dies and goes to like
well, she basically
like
dissolves into sea foam. Yeah.
Sorry?
She basically dissolves into sea foam, I think.
Yeah, I read a version.
Okay, we're back again. I'm sorry this keeps happening. So we were talking about The Little Mermaid, and you were talking about the ending of it.
Yeah, I was just thinking about like how you were saying that there was a moral for Kullervo's story.
Yeah.
Just the children's stories. I think the story ended with like whenever a child is like mean to his parents, like it gives Little Mermaid like 1 year more in purgatory before she can go to heaven or something like that. Like very cruel.
Wow, that's dark.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can threaten your children with like have to be nice or the Little Mermaid will suffer even more.
Oh my god. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not that bad with Kullervo, but it's definitely like the moral of that story is make sure not to raise your kids stupid, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like even if you don't like them, which I'm like, God, that's a horrible thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely I've never read the whole of Kalevala. I kind of know like stories from here and there just by hearing them, and because it's like kind of like part of the culture. You see a lot of paintings, and you read the story behind the painting at museums, and you get a lot of influences from the Kalevala. But I think it would be really interesting to read the whole thing. Yeah. And when I first got this book, I was like kind of shocked how hard it was to read.
Yeah.
I thought that I was just like, oh well, it's a set of poems, I'll just start reading, and then I was like, I can't understand anything that's happening here.
Yeah, like, well, what I found interesting is, like, as I was going through the Kalevala, is that there's a lot of repetition in it.
Yeah.
Like, you have a lot of, there's, like, many conversations where, like, the same thing will be said over and over and over again several times, which I thought was really interesting. Like in Kullervo, like, he goes to basically every member of his family and says, will you mourn for me when I die? And
Yeah.
every one of them says, "No, I won't mourn for you when you die," and then he says, "Well, then I won't mourn for you either," and he does this like, okay, now we're back up again.
Yeah. Just one thing for someone who's interested in reading the Kalevala is that there's a shortened version, which is much lighter. If you're interested, you don't have to read the whole thing.
Okay.
So this has all the stories in it, but it's just it's only about 170 pages.
Okay.
So it's
Okay. Well, that's cool. That's good to know.
yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that I was mentioning very quickly about the Kalevala was like this repetition, and like with Kullervo, where he goes to every member of his family, his father, his brother, his sister, and he says, "Will you mourn for me when I die?" And every one of them says, "No, I won't mourn for you." And he says, "Well, then fine, I won't mourn for you either." And it's the same conversation that happens one after another, after another, after another, until he gets to his mother. And she says, "Yes, I will mourn for you." And he says, "Well, I will mourn for you too."
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you really could have shortened that.
Yeah.
But that type of repetition is very interesting. And I don't know if it's like a translation thing, but at least in the version that I'm reading, whenever anybody speaks, it always says like, this person put this into words, declared and spoke thus.
Yeah. I think like I'm not an expert on this history, but what I think is that all the poems were meant to be songs, that they weren't just spoken, but like
but actually sung. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe that has something to do with the repetition.
That could be. Oh. You're doing a special art project that we'd like to help promote on the show.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a series of drawings of elves every week, which
so cool.
I hope to potentially turn into a book very shortly, like next year. So
cool.
So I'm drawing like a unique elf character every week, and this is the.
Oh wow! Okay, let me see if I can expand this a bit. Yeah. Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, so this is it's still a work in progress, but it's the latest one. So I want to do one of these like original graphite pencil drawings every week.
Oh, that's so
cool.
Where can people find this?
On Instagram, I'm on Instagram, but I also have like a mailing list. If you're interested in this project, you can just sign up on my website, and I can send you one elf drawing every week on Friday.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And I also always add like a little story with the image to like a name of the character and a little story of like what she's about. And because it's December, this month's theme is winter elves.
Okay.
So every image has something to do with winter.
Cool.
So I'm really excited because I really love elves, and I just thought that this would be a very, very nice project to do.
Oh, I think so. That's a great idea.
Yeah. And I want to be like when they do the Silmarillion films or TV show. I want to be like the main designer of the characters.
Yeah,
the concept artist. Let everyone know.
Put that out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, cool. So we'll try to put some of that stuff up on our Facebook and Twitter also to sort of get more people coming in, because that's really cool.
Yeah.
So before we end, I want to let everybody know what our book of the month is for December. Hopefully before we get cut off here again. So it's December. It's adaptation month. It's also Christmas time, so I decided to go with a Christmas adaptation, which is actually it's a beloved sort of modern classic that I don't think people may realize is actually an adaptation, but it is No, that's wrong. It's not Ronia.
We already read that
Here
one.
we go. A Christmas Story.
Okay.
Which is actually based on a collection of short stories written by Gene Shepard. And this is a movie that came out in 1983 and has, over the last 30 years or so, become one of the bigger Christmas movies. So, but I thought we should take a look at the short stories that it's based on. Now, this one, we have a few options here because it's based on particularly 5 short stories. And 4 of them are found in this collection called In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash. But there's also another story that is in another collection. So, about 10 years ago, they published a collection of just the 5 stories that A Christmas Story is based on. And it's just called A Christmas Story. But if you want, you can also try reading In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash to get a better sense of the world in which this whole story takes place. So it's entirely up to you. Our discussion is going to be mostly on the 5 stories that A Christmas Story is based on. And they're fun stories. You got the main story about Ralphie wanting a BB gun for Christmas and all the scheming and conniving that he does to try to get it. And then there's also a story about his father getting a lamp that is in the shape of a woman's leg as a prize for some contest that he was in. And then there's another story about Ralphie getting basically flying into a mad rage against a school bully. And so that's 3. The 4th one is he's part of this secret society for this radio program, or he wants to be part of one, and he gets this special decoder ring, and there's all these announcements of like what you get with your decoder ring, and he's so excited, and he finally does it, and he gets it, and realizes that the message that he's getting is actually just a commercial. And then the last one is about the rivalry with their neighbors and their bazillion hounds who ruin a holiday dinner for them one year. So, it's a fun movie. Like I said, it's become a Christmas classic over the last 30 years or so. But these are the stories that it's based on. Only one of them actually takes place during Christmas time. All the others take place throughout the year. So that's going to be our book of the month. It's a different sort of book of the month. You have a couple options. You can either read just the 5 stories that the movie is based on, or you can try reading the full collection of all the stories. But we'll be talking mostly just about those 5. So,
and also,
that?
Remember to read also Tolkien's Blood of Christmas.
Yes.
Story.
Yes, of course.
It's a Torn Book Club classic.
Yes, it is.
Every Christmas.
Yeah, I need to. I usually go through those a little bit every now and then, just because they're so fun and whimsical.
Yeah.
And that was our book of the month 2 years ago for December, so it's always fun to read that one again. But if I can make it work, and if my voice can not be as scratchy as it is right now, I'm hoping to try to do a dramatic reading of one of these stories for actual Christmas. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Not making any promises. Hopefully, maybe. So before we get kicked off again, I want to thank you, Eva, for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was so much fun.
Yeah, and
talking about books. And
I'm sorry that we had so many technical difficulties, but I'm glad that you could be a part of this. And thank you for recommending Ronia. That was a fun story.
yeah, yeah. And also, just quick mention, if people, well, maybe you can put it on the web, like on the Facebook, the illustrations of Tove Jansson of The Hobbit.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I just remembered.
Yeah,
There's
right. You mentioned that, and I wanted to. Yeah, well.
Yeah, she made like amazing illustrations of the Hobbits, and they're quite the same style, I think, than Tolkien.
Yeah.
Kind of like the same style.
Yeah, I think I went through. I think I found some of her stuff when I was doing when I was trying to get images for our Silmarillion big read. Some of them might have even made it in there. I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah.
There were so many, but yeah, like I'll try to post a few on our Facebook for everybody to check out.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay. So before we get cut off again, thank you, Eva, for coming on. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Again, really sorry about the technical issues this week. So we'll have a very interesting archive on YouTube, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So our book of the month for December is A Christmas Story or In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash by Jean Shepherd. And since it's adaptation month, I wanted to put this out here to everybody to try to think of for next week. Try to think of an adaptation that you think actually was better than the original. There are some out there. I've got a couple in my head, but I love to get your take on this, everybody else's take. Like, was there a movie or a TV show that actually you found more entertaining than its source material? So that'll be our discussion for next week.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Right. So thank you again, Eva. Thank you, everybody else in the chat. I will see you all next week, and never stop reading.